Thank you for that. So why is Monte Carlo simulation or probabilistic forecasting so important or crucial in today's dynamic business environment?
Yeah, so Tim mentioned all of these different pieces that go into how long something actually takes, how long it actually takes us to get things done. And a lot of these things are things that are really complex, right? We can't predict them. We don't know what's going to happen. But we can say with some confidence that the future is going to look pretty similar to the past, right? So we're likely going to have the same risk of that we had in the past in the future. We're likely going to have the same types of delays. Obviously, there can be situations where new delays come up and things change and the world changes. But if that happens, then it's reasonable for our forecast to be off, right? So as long as the future looks similar to the past, we can use this model and say, you know what, we're just simulating that the future is going to look like it did before. And it's pretty straightforward to do it. It takes a whole lot less effort than trying to pretend that we can foresee all of these things.
Yeah. I like that it won't tell you how to fit everything into your iteration, but it will probably tell you if you can't.
That's nice. Go ahead,
A lot
Reid.
of the a lot of the projects that I've worked on over the past years, when they have been challenged or troubled, people often beat themselves up on the team and say, well, if we were just better estimators, if we could just somehow figure out how to estimate the work better, everything would go smoothly. But the things that you suggested, Tim, there are so many things that are outside of our control that we can't predict and we can't control. And so, the idea of beating the team up or beating ourselves up, trying to get better. Tim, you and I have talked about this in the past. You said, if work was like rolling the dice, you'd say, why can't you predict the next roll of the dice more accurately? And it feels that way sometimes when we're asked to estimate work. And so, I've been aware of Monte Carlo simulations, for a number of years. And when I first got exposed to it, it was very exciting because it was based on real concrete data by my team. And so I wasn't asking them to do anything other than do the work, be as effective and efficient as you can.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
let's look at the throughput. I think, Kevin, you mentioned, the throughput. And so, it's a much more effective, efficient way of trying to answer the question, when are we going to be done? And just like, I think the hurricane forecasting model is a really good example. It could go a number of different ways, but we have the ability to model that and come up with a range. And then that range gives us both the predicted, where we think it'll most likely go and what our confidence interval is.
One of the I think the major benefits of people who are trying to follow the no estimates movement when that was being spoken of more often is that they decided to really work on trying to make the work better, right? So Lean Startup and Reinhardt wrote the book on principles of product development flow. They started working on things like lead time and eliminating wastes and queues and what they did was by managing their dependencies differently, by managing the work differently, they became more predictable, at which point they didn't have to make guesses anymore. They know that they're always producing, 18 things per fortnight or whatever. And the work is fairly consistent. And people quit asking after a while. It's like, well, they've got these many things to do. And so we expect by the middle of next month, we should be fine. And they see it happening. Whereas wherever people have maintained a chaotic system of work and focused on being better at guessing, better at predicting, it tends to never actually get better. But what I like about the probabilistic forecasting is it doesn't matter which path you're on, right? It can still say, yeah, well, this is the normal craziness, and about 85% says it's going to be way out here. And if you work on the queuing and the chaos and the problems in your system, it still comes in over time, right? It doesn't rely on your process so much, but it does describe your process, and it describes your process in your team with the kind of work you do in your company. I think is really, that's what Perry was saying. It's very custom. It's very personal.